I was very sorry not to be with you last week. I had a video that I had recorded at the very beginning of the coronavirus, and I was making the point that in some ways it imitated a time of night that some cultures call infinity, eternity, and a stop in time. That's when time stands still. And that's between about 12 and say 3:30 or maybe 4. And it's supposedly to be your most creative time. So without any preparation for camera, I just made that video and put it on my Facebook page. And there was no way we could download it into the YouTube settings, so it was not able to be shown. Tonight, and for you it is this morning, I would like to talk about belonging. I looked at Amazon Prime, and I looked up belonging, books on belonging. And the message said that there were 7,000 books on belonging. So let's just admit that it's important. And as we're thinking about joy, particularly this summer, let's not leave out the joy of belonging. And during the COVID virus, the sense of belonging was interrupted. Many families, adults did not see their grandchildren except on FaceTime. The therapy was done by virtual means, which is great. It allowed for the therapy to continue, but it did not have the human contact, the human presence, I should say. And there were so many other things that were disconnected. Churches did not hold their meetings. We're not allowed to. And people wore masks, and you could hardly breathe or recognize anybody or hear them talk, if you recall that. I mean, you may still be wearing masks. So let's hope that this vaccination has its effects that it's supposed to, and that it does not have side effects that it is not supposed to have. And we will be carrying forth a new way of life, which is our old normal, but for us it will be a new normal. We had become very used to the year-long COVID. It was something that we had to adapt to. The sense of belonging is listed as third in a hierarchy of needs that was put forth by a man named Maslow, and he designed a pyramid of needs. He's a psychotherapist, and his pyramid started with physiological needs, that they come first, and that would be things like food, shelter, rest, economic stability. And then his second physiological need was security and safeness. And the first psychological need was belonging, and what a need we have for belonging. So let's start with family. Many times that is our very first experience of belonging, and sometimes it's negative. Some people in 12-step programs talk about they have a family of origin and they have a family of choice. And you, I think, never really get over your family of origin unless you do some work on it. I will say that I have done a whole lot of work on friction in families of origin, and wish to say that those patterns, if you don't deal with them, can get repeated when you have your children, or in in the sense of your children having their children, your grandchildren. So it's a pattern that can carry on. And if you want to disrupt that pattern, then it's time for you to do some work on that very first place of belonging. That's not the only kind of belonging that you need. You need to belong socially and in your community. And those are the kinds of things that have been shut down this last year and have left a void in many of us. Our churches have been shut down if they were important to us. Our social clubs have been shut down if they were important to us. Our sports events have been shut down if they were important to us. We have had so many things that have kept us from our usual place where we get a sense of belonging. So as we recover from that, appreciate what you have in your repertoire of belonging. Maybe you have several places that you feel comfortable and belong. Hopefully you have a home that you live in right now that invites belonging and becoming. I think that a home is one of the most important things you can have to really get a sense of stability and belonging. I would like to also add that there's a different kind of belonging. And that's something we're growing in awareness of. Maslow, in his next stages of belonging, lists influential kinds of things, self-esteem kinds of things, and then he lists self-actualization. So for people who are not spiritually oriented, that self-actualization is something that you can kind of depend on. That's a culminating feeling and experience and state for you. Then there is transcendence of that, which Maslow does not get into in his stages, but which other people are saying is a stage of life. There are contemplative meditations that are very popular now. And those kind of practices foster a sense of what I might call universal belonging. And what I mean with that is feeling at one with the spirit or the soul of the universe. It's a feeling that maybe in the old days we call intuition, a strong intuition. We've known some people who've had a very, very strong intuition. But this just seems like a little bit more. You know, when you were young, probably you could feel a sense of being at one with nature. Does anybody relate to that? I certainly do. I remember going out in nature and feeling that feeling of being at one. And that is what I hope we will be able to gain, is feeling at one with our world. And if that should happen, I believe that there would be a possibility of a change. And I'm serious. I really think there would be a possibility of a change in which wickedness and greed and fighting and hatred of all kinds of hatred would begin to fall away as we enlarged our sense of consciousness of belonging, and that all of us have a place in the universe, and that each of us can attain the consciousness that gives us that sense with the universe and being at one. Many people would call this spiritual growth. Christians call it contemplative Christianity. I'm sure other people call it by other names, but it is a way of being, a way of doing, a way of living your life that you acquire through this type of at oneness. So I would say that a sense of belonging is a great contribution to your joy. And we're talking about joy this summer, and we're talking about things that block it and things that enhance it. And that sense of belonging, sometimes it's your neighbors in your neighborhood. That's a wonderful sense of belonging, to belong in your neighborhood. But whatever it is, that sense of belonging is a part of your deep and earnest joy. And I'll stop there. Sorry about last week, and next week we'll have another video.